Hello, hello, hello. Hey, yo, happy Monday. How is everybody? How is everyone's weekend? Our first weekend in December in the books. I'm pretty sure I say this every week, but how are we all at the same time feeling like longest year ever, but how is it already December, right? Just so crazy. As you guys jump in, please let me know you're here. Say hey, tell me where you're from. I'm excited to talk to you guys today, and start putting your questions in the comments as soon as you jump in. If you guys have any tax, accounting, bookkeeping questions, I don't do bookkeeping, but I can probably answer your questions. But any kind of questions you have, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll start answering them, and I'll give you guys everyone just a few minutes to get on. Funny story. So I had a training just now, our weekly training, and I had Courtney Boudet on, and we talked about when to hire a bookkeeper. And twice in that call, I hear our doorbell at the office come on. The first one comes on and I hear it. I can hear somebody, but I'm in the middle of talking. And so I hear them leave. And then at the very end, I hear the doorbell again. And I'm not doing anything. Because Courtney's talking. And so I just hear, hello. And so I muted myself and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm on a call. Because I'm like, and I've never had that happen. So I went lock the door and put the sign that says, sorry, we're not here. Although I'm not anywhere near the door. Like, let's see, if you go out and go that way is the door. So I'm nowhere near the doors. I can't, but my voice carries. I'm loud. So, hopefully they don't hear me and think I'm ignoring them. So I see Facebook user, you say I'm here. If you are watching in Facebook, my coffee's gone. That's disappointing. In the comments, there is a thing that says I'm using StreamYard, and it grants you StreamYard access to use your name, your Facebook name and profile. If you want me to know who you are, go ahead and give StreamYard access. I also typically open you guys up in my money, tax, and finance group on this other screen because sometimes you don't want to let Facebook know who you are, and I totally get that. So let's do that. And man, I got to see who you are. Hold on. There we are. It's Karen, my favorite Karen. That is on. I have so many tax plans to finish up tomorrow and Wednesday. So today, as soon as I'm off this training, I am on calls until like 5:30 today. That's not usually Mondays for me. Usually Thursdays are full of calls. My Thursday is also full of calls, but it's fine. So yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Again, as you guys jump in, let me know you're here, but more importantly, please put in your questions, anything you guys have. There's no such thing as a silly or stupid question, nothing to be embarrassed about. And, we encourage being brave and asking those questions because your question is probably the same as the other people who are watching. All right. Excuse me. As always, I will start with updates. And as has been the same story for the since August, how many months is that? September, October, November, last 3 or 4 months, there are no updates. I checked yesterday, we still got nothing. We do, I shouldn't say we don't have nothing. The House and the Senate have both created bills, but both have also rejected the other's bill. So we're kind of back to where we were, right? They both have created what they want to see in the next stimulus, but there's still a handful of things they can't agree on. And so it's keeping either from getting passed through. And it's just tough, right? Because from an individual taxpayer perspective, right? If you're an individual, not a business owner, you got $1,200 back in, did we get that in March or April? You got $1,200 back in March or April, and now we're sitting 8 months later, and that's what we've gotten. You may have gotten additional unemployment benefits, right? But those ended in July. And so at least for August, September, October, for the last 4 months, if you're unemployed, it's been a struggle, right? It's been a struggle. So, and then for my business owners, right, there's so many things. We had our PPP We got our EIDL loans back in April, May, June, maybe even July. Some of you got your PPP loans. And now we're to the point where some of you are ready to, ready to apply for forgiveness on those PPP loans. And so we are navigating that new terrain, but for some of us, we're still at a standstill because some banks have still not opened up forgiveness because they are, at this point, they're waiting for Congress to pass something else, right? And then other banks have started accepting forgiveness applications, but we don't all necessarily want to apply for forgiveness because one of the things that we've seen in multiple drafts of this bill is a tiered blanket forgiveness piece for those PPP loans, up to $50,000, another tier up to $100,000, another tier up to $150,000. So if your loan amount was anywhere under $150,000, there is some stuff in, there is some help to make the forgiveness process easier in this potential legislation. There is also a caveat, because right now, if you got that EIDL loan advance, the EIDL advance, that was the $1,000 per employee or $1,000 for you if you're just self-employed and it's just you. Okay. You got that EIDL grant up to $10,000, right? But then that's subtracted from your PPP forgivable amount, meaning if you spent your PPP money 100% correctly, the way you were supposed to, in the time frame you were supposed to, and you qualified for 100% forgiveness, you still have to subtract that EIDL loan amount. You can't, they were saying you were double dipping if you took both, right? Well, these new legislation pieces that are coming out are saying no. They're saying you didn't necessarily spend that money on the same stuff. You could spend your EIDL money on something different than what you spent your PPP money on. So they shouldn't affect each other. So taxpayers or business owners should be able to get the full grant amount and get their PPP loan fully forgiven. So there is a caveat in what the House has been presenting that says, let's get rid of that. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of where we are. And then also in the proposed legislation from the House is there's still a second round of PPP forgiveness in there, right? For those business owners that are showing, I think it's at least a 25% decrease in receipts or revenue. And what else? And there's more unemployment being presented by both sides. I think both sides, but in different amounts. There's just so much out there right now. But the problem is, you guys, there's so much out there, but it's all just their proposals, right? It's what this side wants to propose and then what this side wants to propose, but nothing's actually passed. Until it passes both sides of Congress, it's not going to go to the president. And then and if it does pass both sides of Congress, then it has to get also approved by the president. So there's still a lot of steps. It is a process, you guys, that could be done in a week. Okay, if it's, a piece of legislation can pass House or Senate, then pass the other side of Congress, House or Senate, and then get signed in by the president within a week's time. All right, so it's not impossible that we can have something by the end of the year, but we'll see. So, heyo, I know that this is Karen. Hi, Karen. So Karen says, yep, I just need my paper from ADP. I want to get it off my plate. Yes, some people and that's totally fine. Some people just want to get this PPP. She's talking about PPP forgiveness. They just want to get it off their plates. All right. So there it is. So there's, what else do we got? It's December. So we should also be getting, at some point, usually it's December, 27th or 28th, but at some point, government should also be passing any IRS changes or rules or guidance that they want to change for the year. And then we can actually start advising on that. That's where lots of times, you guys, there are temporary loopholes or rules in place that expire. They'll be like, they expire in 2019. So we've had to adjust, kind of advise throughout 2020, assuming they're going to be gone, but usually they get renewed. So it always kind of makes it tricky. They can also present new things. Do I expect a lot of that this year? No, because 2018, they overhauled the tax code with a lot of those things expiring in 2025. 2020 has been so chaotic as is. I can't even imagine them trying to do some new things. All that I kind of propose is them trying to make things easier on us, but the IRS doesn't want to collect less tax, right? They need that revenue. So not sure what we'll see in terms of IRS changes for 2020, but we will keep you posted if we ever get those. What else? Oh, hey, Wendy. Such a weird issue came up. I have a client who, per the IRS, says they got $186,000 in third-party sales from 2018. So probably a 1099K, right? The client claims this money is crypto money from 2017. And the client claimed a loss in 2017. Any advice on where to start with this issue and resolving it? Whew, there's so many moving pieces in this. All right, so the first is the timing issue, right? So let's ignore the crypto for a minute. Okay, so they got what I assume is a 1099K for $186,000. So what that's saying, you guys, because Wendy is in the accounting world, for those of you, so you're a business owner, and when you collect money through a credit card or through PayPal, you receive a 1099K from them if you collected more than $20,000. So they received this form that says they collected $186,000 in 2018. So when you get that, you guys, when those 1099s that show the revenue that came in through those third-party credit cards or PayPal, you have to have at least that much revenue on your tax return, or you need to reconcile why it's not there. So that's saying you received $186,000 in cash in 2018. Maybe you're an accrual taxpayer, so you'd have to reconcile why those numbers don't match. Let's assume they're cash, right? So they're saying $186,000 in 2018 income. The client says that's money they collected in 2019, 2017. All right. So what they're showing is a timing difference. Let's start again. We're ignoring the crypto for now. The client is saying they actually had $186,000 in income in 2017, even though this form is saying it's in 2018. That seems like and I don't know what their total revenue is for the years, but that seems like kind of a high number to be a timing issue. Unless they are in some sort of business where a lot of their business is done at the end of the year, right? And maybe that $186,000 is December revenue that they billed for, but then didn't collect from the credit cards until January. When there's a timing issue, you guys, on that with the income, it can only be a timing issue if you're an accrual basis taxpayer, meaning you recognize sales when you invoice a client, not when you actually receive the cash. Same when you're paying people. You recognize an expense when you receive a bill from your vendor, not when you pay the bill. Okay, most of us are cash basis taxpayers, meaning we recognize revenue when the cash hits our bank account, and we recognize expenses when the cash leaves our bank account. All right. So my first assumption here, Wendy, is that they're accrual basis taxpayers. And so there's a timing difference. In which case you have to show that, or the client needed to have shown that on their 17 and 18 return. And without looking at how their tax return is set up, I can't tell you exactly how to fix that. But excuse me, if they're not accrual basis and they are cash basis accounting, then they did something wrong. Because it's very rare. The 1099K could be incorrect, but that's very rare. Usually those are all set up on a system and an automation. So there was $186,000 that needed to be on the 2018 return. Okay. So you got to do some digging. If you do find out that they did report it on 17, then you need to amend it. Take it out of 17 so they're not taxed on it, and put it on 18 so they are taxed on that income. You go on to say the money is crypto and the client claimed a loss in 17. Well, you can miss $186,000 in income and still have you could report an additional $186,000 in income and still have a loss. I don't know what kind of numbers we're talking about for your client. And then the crypto that comes into that, the client claims money is crypto from 17. So I would have to I would need a little bit more detail on what you mean by the money is crypto. Are you saying they received $186,000 in cryptocurrency? Or that, and that's a whole nother issue. And if you're doing tax returns that deal with crypto, I would definitely give it to a crypto expert, which we are, but we really that's not been our focus for the last year. We have a couple of clients who do crypto transactions, and we do their return and we advise for them. But we've even, not on purpose, but just kind of stepped away from the complicated stuff just because our efforts have been elsewhere. We spent our time elsewhere. Excuse me. God, there was something else I was going to say before I pulled up your question, Wendy. I don't remember. So let's talk about updates. Okay, guys. Or let's go back to, got 5 more minutes. I'm going to use all my time. So I get a lot of questions right now. Like what can I do in December? Okay. What can I do in December to get ready for tax season? Or what can I do in December to minimize my tax burden? Okay. So that's December before year end is when you want to engage in some tax planning. We are taking on tax planning projects for just this week. You got to sign up this week if you want us to do tax planning for you guys before the end of the year. We have gotten a lot of projects coming in. We are going to be busy, but we can take on a few more. But what you can do at year end, right, is make sure your books are up to date. Okay. For lots of us as business owners, we tend to slack on the bookkeeping side of things, right? Keeping our financials up to date, making sure our reconciliations are being done monthly, all this stuff. You can do that in December, okay? Instead of waiting until you're ready to give your stuff to your tax preparer, make sure you or your bookkeeper is up to date through November at this point, right? So make sure all your reconciliations are up to date, make sure your bills are all paid, all the things. And then you just have December to do, right? You just have December to do your transactions, reconcile. But what'll happen is if your books are all up to date, you know what your net profit is from your business. Okay. So if you're a Schedule C, your net profit, that's going to be usually, there's some adjustments, but typically you can say, okay, that's going to be what I'm taxed on. Okay. That's my taxable income. So you can get an idea of what your tax is going to be for the year, and we can figure out whether you're doing this on your own, you're having us help you. We can say, okay, this is what we've paid in estimated payments. Oh, you also have a W-2 job. This is how much you've paid in federal and state income taxes, and figure out what your final bill is going to be before the end of the year. As a business owner, we can also say, okay, you have this much money left. This is what your taxes are going to be. So you can see what your cash flow is. And so maybe you were thinking about buying a new piece of equipment, or maybe you were thinking about hiring a virtual assistant to help with some of your stuff, or a bookkeeper to help with your bookkeeping. You know what your cash flow looks like, so you know what you can afford before year end. And you can make those adjustments before year end and take some additional expense for things that you want to actually invest in inside your business, right? And lower your taxable income before the end of the year. Okay. Waiting till after year end to do tax planning, you do still have some opportunities. And that's usually, you can still make retirement contributions. If you have a SEP or a SEP IRA or, a traditional IRA, there's some things you can do, but not as many as if you do it before year end. Okay. So what is your job in December? It's to make sure your books are up to date through the year, so that when when January rolls around, you guys, we love, like, our favorite business clients are the ones whose books are done and that you give us your stuff in January. Okay. Because in January, we can't do any personal returns, right? Because all those 1099s and W-2s don't come in, right? So the only thing that we're doing that for clients in January is wrapping up their business, right? And starting their business returns. Okay. So we love you guys. All right. So Karen says, brush up on your crypto. This girl's got some this year and has no clue what to do tax-wise. Yeah. You're in terms of crypto investing, and when you're, if you're just selling it and buying it and you have wallets, like what that, as complicated as that is still basic in the world of crypto. All right. What we started getting into with some of our clients, and it was becoming a whole new world, was, paying employees with crypto, and, there were some complicated things, and we did it, but there's so many variables that I decided that we kind of just want to stick with the basic stuff. So if crypto is not your industry, right? If you do something else, but you own crypto, okay, or you bought some crypto or you sold some crypto, that is simple for us. Like, I'm first in that, we got that. Okay. And we can probably do even a little more complicated, but if your world is crypto and you're like day trading in crypto, that stuff was just becoming too much. So it was too much. So, all right. Let me make sure I got everything. Wendy says the 186 was crypto income. So what happens, you guys, let's go back to this real quick. It's a crypto day. So when you receive, okay, your business decides you want to accept crypto as currency. So you do a job and somebody pays you $186,000 in cryptocurrency instead of cash, right? At that point, it's income to your business. Okay, whether they pay you in dollars or yen or pounds or cryptocurrency, it is income to your business. Okay, and then that $186 in cryptocurrency then sits in a bank account, right? And at that point, it's an investment. Okay, whereas your normal cash kind of just sits there, but because at that point it's fluctuating up and down. It's almost like when you put money into the stock market, all right? Because then when you start spending that cash, it has a different value. It's not valued at $186,000 anymore. Okay, it's either higher or lower. So you're taking capital gains or losses as well. So if you're dealing with crypto, there's two pieces. There's the bringing it in. If you're accepting crypto as income, as payment in your business, okay, it's ordinary income, just like it is if it's $1, right? And then you also have a transaction when you sell it, because it has changed value, right? So again, think of it kind of like stocks, right? So when you cash out your stocks, your brokerage account, it has a different value than what you originally put in. So you either have capital gains or capital losses. All right. And in 1718, depending on when, there were a lot of losses. So, all right, guys, I know we started a few minutes late, but without any more questions, I think I'm going to let you go. I got a lot of calls today to jump on in about a half hour and a little bit of stuff to do before then. So that said, next week is the 14th at 9:00 Mountain Standard Time. We will have our training, and we are talking about when it's time to hire an accountant in your business. We'll talk about both a tax preparation accountant, so for the compliance piece, and a tax strategist, all right? Because two totally different, and we'll kind of talk about that. And then at 9:30, we'll do updates and Q&A, and we'll see if we actually have anything. And then that's all for now. There will be a couple weeks in there probably that we take some time off around the holidays. I just don't know yet when that'll be. I'm still kind of planning that out. So that's that. If you guys watch this and have any other questions, head on over to the Money, Tax, and Finance Facebook group and post them as their own post in there so that the community or myself can help you out. All right. You guys have a fantastic Monday and a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye, guys.